Welcome back to the 1211 podcast, where real people share real stories of how they found real freedom in Jesus. We are so excited you're here today and hope that you'll find encouragement and hope as you listen to today's episode. I'm Tabitha.
And I'm Jennifer, and today we have two very special guests joining us, Heather and Dalton Brown. They have an incredible story about waiting on God, trusting His timing, and the power of community during the hardest seasons of life.
Their journey to becoming parents is filled with hope, heartbreak, and ultimately restoration. We believe that stories like this need to be told. Behind every episode of 1211 podcast is the truth found in Revelation 12:11. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. We believe that our freedom is found in boldly sharing the testimony of God's goodness in our lives.
Good stuff. Before we jump into their beautiful story, it's time for rapid fire fun. Heather and Dalton, are you ready?
We're ready.
All right, so we're just going to ask you a series of questions. The key here is don't overthink your answer. There's no right or wrong answer. Right? Nobody else knows if it's the right or wrong answer. Whatever you say, they're going to think is the right answer.
Got it.
So just share the first thing that comes to your mind when we ask you these questions. Ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tea.
All right, so tell us, what's your coffee order of choice, Dalton?
Pretty boring, but just black coffee. Hot black coffee.
Well, one of our prior episodes, Mr. Dan said he respected anybody that could drink black coffee. So there you go. You have an admirer now. And what about you? Just sweet tea?
I'm a sweet tea drinker.
Do you have a certain place that you like to get sweet tea or something?
McDonald's is pretty good, but I'm just a plain Milo's sweet tea girl.
All right. There we go.
Good stuff.
All right. Mountains or a beach vacation?
I prefer the mountains. I'm not a big beach person.
Beach person.
But he's a beach person.
For sure.
Yeah, me too. I have a hard time making that decision, but I think I
love them
choose.
both.
Yeah, me too. I could.
Yeah.
But beach, I would choose beach over mountains. So,
yeah. Favorite worship song right now? My favorite worship song is Goodness of God. We sing it every night with Isaac in the bathtub, and it's so sweet. I just never want him to forget how good God has been to us, and so that's my favorite.
Yeah.
That was going to be my answer, but I had a backup plan just in case. King of Kings by Hillsong.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I was listening to that one today. So, what is your go-to comfort food?
Any pasta. Any kind of pasta.
Hot wings.
Hot wings.
Hot wings.
The hotter the better?
No, not too hot.
No, not too hot.
Give me some wings, I'll be good.
I love wings too.
Yes.
Yeah, she does. When you're with Tabitha, it's either going to be wings or Mexican.
Hey, both of those are great options.
Amazing. Just I'm always a cheap date.
Yeah.
Who's the funnier one? Oh, for sure, Dalton.
For sure. I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone that knows Dalton knows that he has the gift of humor. Yeah, he has a way of lightening the load in any room.
Absolutely.
So your favorite place to go for a date night?
We're pretty simple, just out to eat.
Yeah, any restaurant, just any one-on-one time we get is good, but we like splurging on nice restaurants every now and then.
Yeah,
So that's probably our favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I like that, the togetherness.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's one word you'd use to describe this season of life you're currently in?
Busy. There's a couple of them.
Yeah.
Busy, tired.
The first word that just came to my mind was sweet.
Yeah. That's awesome. So who takes longer to get ready?
I'll take that one.
She's always ready before me, though, but it's not because I take long. It's just I put it off for a long time.
So you're like, I got more time.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Favorite Bible verse that's carried you through? My favorite Bible verse is Romans 12:12. Be patient in joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer.
Good one.
Yeah, and then mine is Lamentations 3:22 and 23. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is His faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning.
Are we thankful for that? I need to start every day. What is your favorite thing about each other? So what's your favorite thing about Dalton, Heather?
I always say it's that he can make me laugh at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Somebody said, "What's life like with Dalton?" And it's just funny. Like, it's just fun.
good. That's great.
Yeah, I love that.
I would say one of that about Jason too, and people don't always see that side of him because he's kind of serious, and he is hilarious. Yes. Yeah, and he keeps life so much fun for our family. Sometimes I take myself too seriously, and he just doesn't.
Yes.
So it helps us a lot balance things out.
Yeah. I'd say my favorite thing about Heather is just how it's like she's got this superwoman act of just never forgetting anything. Like she keeps me in line. Yeah. I would be so clueless without Heather. She just keeps, she don't let me forget anything. And same for Isaac. Like I don't know how she keeps up with both of us, but yeah,
she does.
She just seems like some kind of superhero.
It's like, where's my wallet? It's on your drink.
Yeah, everything. It's every day too. It'll be 3 a.m. I'm trying to leave for work. I'm like, Heather, I'm not find my keys, and she'll tell me exactly where they are.
We all need someone to take care of it.
And she never complains about it. She just carries right on.
That's great. That's awesome.
Sweet. Okay, thanks for playing along. Heather and Dalton, we're so glad you're here. We're going to start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about how your story as a couple began, just wherever you'd like to pick up.
So we've always known each other. We grew up together. Our parents were friends. We went to church together as kids. We always like to say there's a picture of us as kids when Dalton's mom is pregnant with him and she's holding me.
Oh.
And I'm at my sister's second birthday party. So
cool.
We've always known each other, always been in each other's lives, but we really didn't connect until like midway through college, sophomores in college. And started dating and pretty much been inseparable ever since. We got married in 2016 and that's where we start.
Is that your version of the story too, Dalton?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah. We've known each other, and our family has been friends. It's been always like talking about our first picture together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
really, that's great. So let's you said you were married in 2016. So I want to kind of start, as you shared with me as we were preparing for the podcast, that November 2017 is when you would say that you guys officially started your trying to conceive journey. I'm going to be honest, when you put TTC, I had to look that up. But now, okay, good. I was like, I don't think I knew what this is. But I did figure that out. TTC, now I feel like more intelligent. Trying to conceive journey. Unpack that for us. Like, what did that that season in your life, what were those early days like when you began that journey?
So we really didn't intentionally start that early. I had some issues with some hormones and had an IUD, had it removed because it was just causing me some issues. And so we didn't go into a marriage thinking, okay, a year later we want to get pregnant and have a baby, but that's just kind of the starting point from where we got the IUD removed, and then we were just like, it's going to be up to God at this point. And so the first couple years we really I would say we really weren't doing much intervention, like medically, just because we were so young. We got married at 21 and 22, so it's not like we were in a hurry, but we were just leaving it up to the Lord at that point. And then once we had gotten a few years in, then we started seeking some medical advice and not really doing any surgeries or fertility treatments or anything, just kind of filling out what was maybe some potential problems, and really weren't getting much answers. It was just like, hey, it'll work when it works, and so kind of we had gotten to that point where, okay, we've got to take more serious action. So I started seeing a doctor in Nashville, and never really had signs of endometriosis. I had never had any of the painful stomach problems that people talk about or anything. So I never thought that endometriosis was even in the picture. But this doctor does a lot of exploratory surgeries. And so we went and talked to her, and she was like, yeah, I think we need to do this. And it was right in the height of COVID. So we didn't know if we were going to get it done, but we did. And she did find some endometriosis. So then we kind of had an answer of, what could have been causing it. So I would say from that point on is when we started getting more serious about the treatments and stuff like that. So
one of the things I was thinking about as you were saying that is just hearing you describe the early years of, we really weren't trying, but we weren't preventing, and I think as someone else who struggled with infertility, one of the hardest parts about it is you just assume there won't be a problem. Nobody goes into it thinking, this is going to be a struggle for us, right? And then, but when you start really asking questions, or you start sharing what's going on, for me anyway, I started realizing that it was a lot more common than I recognized, that a lot of people struggle with it. It's just people don't necessarily talk that they're struggling.
It's almost like taboo to talk about.
I hope it's getting less that way. And of course, this was 25 years ago for me, a long time ago. But I think I felt like we couldn't really share, or like, I didn't realize that as many people would identify or understand or be able to provide some compassion through that. So we kind of just carry that journey by ourselves for a while. And I don't know if you guys experienced that, but it can be very lonely.
Yeah, because it seems like something's wrong with you. And there's really nothing you can do about it. And so I know for me, it did get very lonely. Like, I even sometimes would retreat from him because he wouldn't understand what I was dealing with, because it was my body and something was wrong with me. And so it was like, he's good, but I'm the problem, So, it is a very lonely journey, but there's so many people that deal with it. So it's so common.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so important, like sharing in this space, to have a space where we can share those things, because someone that's going to listen to this is going to be dealing with those things, and hopefully it will help them not feel quite so alone in their journey.
Yeah. Heather, as your journey continued to unfold, you had surgery in July 2021. Can you share about that, and what did the months following that surgery look like for both of you?
So our doctor had given us some statistics that 75% of people who have this surgery end up pregnant within 3 months of the surgery. And so going into the surgery, we were so hopeful that, this is going to be the answer. This is going to be...
Fix it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was like a sense of hope had been restored that we were missing for a while.
Absolutely. And so I had the surgery in 21. I really didn't have any complications. Healing was fine. We actually did an IUI in August, and it did not take. And so after we did the IUI in August, I think that was kind of my lowest point, was because I felt like, this was our last shot. Like, I'm not going to have surgery again. I'm not going to have those great odds in my favor. And so when it didn't take, I think that was when I was at my lowest in the journey.
That was tough for both of us, because it's like you hear what the doctors say and then you kind of cling to that, like that's all you're putting you're all in on that, And so as we, I guess, go through the story more, you'll hear how it kind of, God's timing is better than we could imagine. And it worked out ultimately for the best case scenario, but it was a tough time, because I think we did one more IUI after that, right? And it didn't take either. So it was frustrating, and it's like you just give up. I just gave up. And so.
Yeah, I think I would like for you guys to share a little bit. So you're getting the IUI that didn't take, and for me, anytime, like every pregnancy test that's a negative, like kind of share about what does that do to you individually, because I do think it impacts each of you different from your own perspective, but also it definitely impacts you as a couple, right, in your marriage. So unpack that a little bit for us.
For me, the main feeling that I had the whole time, every time I got a negative test, was the test is a failure and I'm a failure. Because I knew from the time I married Dalton, or from the time we started dating, that he was going to be a great dad. And I felt like I could not give him that. And so it made me feel like such a failure, because I wasn't going to be able to see him be a dad. And it broke me every single time. Broke me every time.
Yeah.
And God ultimately restored that, but when you're in the thick of it and you have those feelings, it just brings you down so low, makes you feel worthless, and then you see all these other people that have no issues, and thanks be to God that they don't. And we had friends getting pregnant, and while I was happy for them, absolutely happy for them, and I love their kids just like they're my own, and it was so hard walking through that because I felt like such a failure.
Yeah,
and everybody asks, when are you going to have kids? It's like,
and they mean well.
They mean nothing bad about it.
It's like a constant reminder,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think I ended up like getting callous to it a little bit, to where before she would even take a pregnancy test, I'm like, it's going to be negative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really kind of got checked out spiritually. I was just done, I wouldn't say done. I mean, I was still going to church and stuff, but like I was doing it just because I was going with my wife.
Sure.
And I was, I was making bad decisions. Nothing crazy, but like putting other things before my walk with, faith. And I'd go to the bar after work with friends or something, or, we'd go to my house and just drink in the garage or something, something stupid. And that kind of became, I guess, my release.
Helping, right?
Yeah, but I didn't realize I was doing it.
Right.
But looking back, I definitely was, and it's not something I'm proud of, but it's I feel like it's something that I almost needed to experience, to have that to look back on and realize that not only did God give us the biggest miracle in Isaac, but he also changed that part of me,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he turned it all for good.
Yeah, so good.
Thank you for sharing that, being vulnerable, because I know somebody that's going to hear this is going to relate.
Yeah, and I think what I thought about when you shared that, Dalton, is like just the grace of God. Like what's so beautiful to me is we all have different seasons in our life, and we don't all turn to the same thing. Like you were saying, like you kind of, it's just a way to cope and those kind of things. But all of us have seasons where we don't come out and say, I'm mad at God or I'm angry at God, but like the way we're kind of navigating life says, like, God, if you love me, show up, right? Why aren't you showing up? And then it's just when you meet his grace in those spaces, and just like the verse that you shared earlier, to recognize that his grace and his mercy, it's new every morning, and he doesn't, even when we are turning our gaze away from him, he never turns his gaze away from us, and he's still pursuing us in those moments, and that's such a beautiful thing to me. So let's talk about, you kind of talked about 2021 surgery, these negative tests, and Dalton, you shared you kind of had been like, not giving up totally, but just sometimes we kind of do that. We give up, we check out just to protect our hearts too, because if I'm not anticipating and if I'm not hopeful, then I can't be let down. And that hurt, right? So, but talk about 2022. I know that was a big year for you guys. Lots happened in 2022.
Yes.
And tell us about some of those significant moments that were impactful as you walk the road of infertility.
So I think the first thing that happened in 2022 was Restore Conference, and that's every year at the end of August. And that specific year was Kate Cataldo, who you heard the first episode of the 1211 podcast. She mentioned that she had gotten prayed for at Restore Conference, and then the next Restore Conference she was pregnant with her first child,
who she also had struggled with fertility.
Absolutely, and so at the 2022 Restore, she prayed over me, and it was so powerful to me. I came home and told Dalton, I was like, I know this is going to happen, because there was power in the words that she prayed. And not that there was anything special about Kate, but I felt the Lord so strongly in my spirit, and I knew he was going to show up And I knew,
beautiful moment.
yes, it was, I'll never forget it as long as I live. I'll never forget how I felt. And so that was in August. And in September, we were living in Cookeville, Tennessee at the time. We had been there 10 years, 8 to 10 years, something like that. Yeah, in total from college. And then after we had got married, and we were kind of getting the itch to move back home. Just kind of missed our family and some friends that lived here. And so we were looking for opportunities to move back home. And in September of 2022, Dalton had ended up getting a job in Murfreesboro. And so we were like, oh, good. Well, we can just, that'll be closer to home. We can move about halfway. And so we ended up selling our house in Baxter and buying a house in Manchester. And looking back, I just see God's hand in every decision that we made that year. It was incredible. I would say the next thing that happened in 2022 was November was the biggest year of our lives in 2022. But at the end of October, my cousins Thomas and Tracy, who pastor a church in Murfreesboro, called me, and they had been doing a Bible study with the series The Chosen. And they had just got finished watching the episode where the lame man is lowered through the roof by his 4 friends to get to Jesus. Yeah, me too.
Oh, so good.
And she called me, and it was so random, and she was telling me this, and I was like, okay, where is this going? And she was like, Thomas challenged us to be mat carriers for our friends. And the first people we thought of were you and Dalton. And she said Eli and Owen even said, like, we need to do Heather and Dalton. They're 2 little boys. And I was overwhelmed because I didn't really know what that was going to mean. We had people praying for us for years. But something about this just felt different. And so she set up a Facebook group, and people signed up to pray and fast for us every day from November 1st through November 30th. And at the beginning of November, I told God I was going to give this everything. Like, whoever was praying for me that day, I was going to pray and fast for them. And I almost dared God. Like, I got a little bold with it. And I said, like, how cool would this be to show up in this amazing way and show all of these people who have joined this group that you still do miracles? Like, how cool would that be? Like, why don't we do this? Like, come on, God, you can do it, And yeah, right.
Yes. What do you think?
Yeah. And so that was probably the closest to God I have ever been, was in November of 2022. I mean, I still feel really close to God, but up until that point.
Sure.
And I prayed and fast for every person who prayed for me on those days. And so we had moved out of our house a lot of these dates are overlapping because that's just how God works. But we had moved out of our house in Baxter, I don't know, like the second week of November, first week of November.
It was we were at your parents' for a couple weeks waiting to close on our house in Manchester.
Yes. So
already closed in Baxter.
Right. So on November 13th, it was a Sunday afternoon, and we had a baby shower at church for one of my best friends, Caitlin. And we had left the baby shower, and I was fixing to go up a dose in some medication I was taking. And you can't be on the medication if you're pregnant. And so Dalton was like, why don't we just, be doubly sure before you go up in dose, because we don't want,
Right.
And I'm like, why are we doing this? We know it's going to be negative, because you just get that mindset. You just had so many negative tests. And so I was like, okay, whatever. Just go do it to appease him. So all Walmart had was a triple pack. I'm like, I don't need 3 because the first one's going to be negative. So I'm not going to take 2 more, but why not? That's all you got. So I guess I'll buy it. So we went back to my parents' house in my childhood bathroom, not where I ever thought I was going to be taking a pregnancy
Very,
test.
very small bathroom.
Yes. And I took it and set it face down on the sink, and I was washing my hands, and I looked at it, threw it in the trash, and walked out. And then I was like, wait, what did that say? So I went back in the bathroom, turned it over, got it out of the trash can, turned it over, and it was positive. And I was like, no way.
Dalton, come here.
So he was sitting in the living room with my dad, Okay. And so I was like, Dalton, you got to come here. And my aunt is in the room right next to the bathroom. Like, it's a real tiny house. Everybody can hear everything. And so I'm trying to be quiet because I want him to know first. And he's like, take another one. And I was like, okay. We got more. Yeah, right. We got plenty. So I took another one and it was positive. And we just broke down in this little bitty bathroom.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what do we do now? Because we're at my parents' house.
Like, well, they know something's going on.
Yeah. And so we went out of the bathroom and my mom and dad were sitting there and I was like, I just got 2 positive pregnancy tests. And my mom and dad both started shouting the name of Jesus. I'll never forget it. And it was just such a wholesome, amazing moment. I really, looking back at it, I wouldn't have wanted to find out any other way because it just...
I planned it that way.
Right. I didn't plan it that way, but it was so perfect. And so that's the day that changed it all for us.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was like 9:00 at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we got to tell my parents. Like, we want to, like, we were so excited. And so, yeah, my parents were up watching TV. We drove to their house, and I think I asked them if they could watch the dog or something. I can't remember what it was. And then, yeah, it was just so exciting. They were jumping up and down as well. It was just, man, it was amazing.
So good.
Yes. Looking back, how were those moments with Restore Conference, job change, prayer group evidence of God's goodness and faithfulness? How did God use those moments to give you hope in that struggle?
Community has been so important to our story. The people that have rallied around us in some of the darkest times really carried us through our infertility journey. And without those people, I don't know where we would be today. I don't know if we would have kept our faith in the Lord and kept our hope. And God's just so good because I can see his hand in every person he put in our life, every decision that we made, every aspect of our lives. I can see his hand at work. And today I don't worry about anything, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that God is working for me in every situation. And so I think that's how I see that it's changed in my life, that I don't have to question if God's beside me because I know he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I echo that. And just Isaac's the reminder. I mean, every day I look at him, it's just like, you're a miracle, and you, like, I hope he knows that. That's one thing we pray over him every night is like, I hope that you use your life as a testimony.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So
I think about, I would say that that's the cool thing about you sharing that journey with your community as a part of your community. I will say that I think that's the beautiful thing about people leaning into living authentically and transparently with one another, because like you said, the group that were praying for you, your church family, like those that knew what was happening, had they not known, it would not have been the faith booster for them that it is. Because you were able to live transparently in those spaces. Like, I would say the same thing every time I say Isaac. I think God can do anything, right? It's the impossible. And when man says there's no way, it's not possible. So I think that's the cool thing. And it's, it's scary sometimes to live transparently and authentically and share the darkest, hardest parts of our lives with others. But the cool thing is, it reminds us, that we're not alone and we don't have to walk those journeys. But like I said, it becomes about, your story becomes bigger than you. And so like it's God's story for someone's life other than just your own, right? So when you think about that time and just the emotions that you felt on that November the 13th, one of the things I would like you guys to share just a little bit about is, I know, Dalton, you were transparent about, like, there was some struggle that you had, like, holding on to your faith through that. But I know that neither one of you let go of your faith. And so I would just ask you to share with those who are listening, like, how important was that anchor of faith, and that there was a reason to trust, even when you weren't seeing the answers coming?
It's everything, especially like in the moment. You probably don't realize how important it is. And like, but like looking back, like, even though maybe I wasn't as into it as I would have been, or, you know, normally was, but just showing up still, and letting people pray for you, and asking for prayer, because like it's hard to ask for prayer,
Sure.
but just the fact that, you know, we try to stay as God-centered as possible. Heather really walked that out, and she kept me, like, she saved me from a lot of stuff. But it's everything just to remain grounded in Christ. And I think it's like, I can't say how important it is to reach out for help and ask for people to pray for you. Like, now this has changed my perspective. Like, you know, experiencing this miracle makes me want to pray for people. And where I guess it's easy to be like, you know, poor, pitiful me, like, somebody pray for me, you know? And then, like, it just flips your perspective to, like, you seek others, and you want to be that person that they can go to. And so I think it's more important than anything to stay connected to Christ, no matter how hard it is. I know it's so hard sometimes, like, I've experienced it, but without that, I don't know if we'd be sitting here talking about this today.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I love what you said, to just keep showing up, right? And I think I say often to people, when you feel like doing it the least is probably when you need to do it the most. Right. And sometimes you are just going through the motions. You are just showing up, or you're checking a box. But even I think that's where the grace of God steps in and just meets us in our places of weakness and vulnerability. And and it seems like just showing up to us, right? But it is, even deep down in our hearts, it's still this act of faith that I'm choosing to turn toward this. And even though I don't see it and I don't understand it and it doesn't feel good and I don't agree with it, all these things, right? Just that to continue to keep showing up and just and giving yourself to community. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just say, for me, sometimes I couldn't talk to anybody else. I couldn't talk to Dalton. I couldn't talk to my friends, because I felt like they just didn't understand. And so for me, sometimes all I could do was cry out to the Lord. And even if it was just the name of Jesus, he knew my heart, and he knew the desires, and sometimes that's all I could do. When I was laying on the bathroom floor, that's all I could do was cry out to the name of Jesus. Yeah. And so for me, it definitely kept me grounded. And, you know, when I felt like I had nobody else, I knew I had Jesus.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's easy to say that you trust God as the God of time and the God of timing until you're in a long, dark season. How did that season of waiting change you? And what did you learn about yourselves and about God?
It definitely changed us, for sure. You know, when you're walking through infertility, everybody says, it'll happen when it happens. You know,
I heard it.
So, you know, it sounds cliche. It'll happen when it happens, when the time is right.
Stop stressing out.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, don't think about it.
No, I wish I could.
Yeah,
you see, right. Stressing you out.
Right. Yeah.
And nothing's really comforting, by the way.
No,
I mean,
there's nothing you can say.
And we've all done it. We've all tried to be comforting, but there's really nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing you can say.
The way the sting hurt.
But through that, and having seen the Lord's hand at work in every aspect. I mean, you can't really see it when you're in it, that, oh, this might be the Lord doing this, you know?
Yeah. Hindsight's much better, right?
Yes, right.
Looking behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it has changed me, is knowing in all of these decisions that was the Lord, and that his timing is perfect. Yes. And so even now when we're walking through something, I'm like, it'll happen. Yeah. I know the Lord's working. I know the Lord's working.
Yeah.
And I think it has given me a new sense of hope.
Yeah.
And trust in the Lord.
That's great.
Yeah. Same thing. I mean, it's just you look at life differently after you experience something like that, and it's changed our perspective on everything. Like no matter what we go through, like around that same time, my dad was going through like some potential like cancer stuff. You know, he had already had cancer once, and it's like all that was like it's kind of interwoven with it. You know, it's like when we were like at the same time we needed that like miracle in our lives. It gave us the faith to push through something else that was going on too, you know. And it was just, the timing is incredible. I mean, there's so many things. We can sit here for hours and talk about it, but yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a powerful reminder that, you know, when we're in the middle of it, I say this all the time, like on the front side of it, we would never sign up for it.
Yeah.
If somebody said ABC, which one do you like that? No, none of those, Lord, none of those. In the middle of it, we just want out of it.
Yes.
We just want it to end. We want to get on, right? But on the flip side of it, you look back and you think, man, there's things that I know about God, I know about myself now that I never would have known apart from those struggles, right?
True, yeah.
It's in those suffering and the struggle that and Jesus says that in his word, that we know him best through suffering. And but that's not our way as humanity. We don't want to struggle, we don't want to suffer, and especially in our American culture, we think if we do all the right things, we work hard, there's going to be this timeline that naturally unfolds, and then it doesn't, right? And so and just learning, I think what you guys said is so powerful, to know that how those struggles then and what you learn in those seasons equip you for what's in the next season, right? And also it becomes the overflow of that becomes your ministry, right? It becomes the spaces that you're able to speak into other people's lives and struggles because you've seen him to be faithful and you've seen him to be true. So if you could define for me, I believe we have mile markers on our journey. That's kind of how I see life. And I know for me, there's moments I can go back and trace and go, those were pivotal moments for me. Like that was a before and after moment. Like I remember life before it was like this, life after it was like this. And some of them were really wonderful, great pivotal moments. And some of them were hard pivotal moments where I have to think life will never be the same again. But as you think about that, the turning point or that moment where like in this journey that everything shifted for you, what was that for each of you?
I'll go first. For me, as I was in the midst of this struggle, of course, we were praying that God would give us the desires of our heart and he would allow us to be parents and have a child. But in the midst of it, I was also praying for my husband because I saw he wasn't making terrible decisions. Like he wasn't doing anything terrible, but I had seen him slipping away from the Lord. And I had been praying for God to bring him back to himself. And I don't remember exactly which IUI attempt it was, but shortly after our surgery, we did another IUI, and it failed. And it was one where I was so hopeful. Like I had been having a little bit of symptoms, but it was probably just the medication looking back. But I was so hopeful. I was like, oh, this is it. Like I know this is going to be a positive. And it was a negative. And I found myself just laying on the bathroom floor, and Dalton was like, okay, come to bed. Like it's okay. We're come to bed. And I was laying in bed just sobbing, weeping. And he laid his hand on my head and he prayed for me out loud. And that was a moment that changed my prayer. Like I knew the Lord was drawing him back to himself. And that's all I had ever wanted in a husband. And so not only did it give me hope in Jesus, but it gave me a newfound love for my husband. And that was one of the turning points in my journey where I look back and I'm like,
we're going to be okay.
Yes.
Like whatever happens.
Yes, everything is going to be okay. Like we're going to make it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful movement.
Yeah, and around that same time, all that happened, I mentioned like being callous and stuff and kind of numb to it. I don't know if we've had tons of people pray for us, obviously, at this point, but and I don't know if Kathy Frame will remember this, but there was one Sunday at Estill, and goes back to just showing up, just like show up, even if you let the Spirit give them a chance to move, So it was one Sunday at Estill. Heather had went to the altar to pray, and so I went with her and was praying for her. And then Kathy comes in behind us, and she starts praying. And I mean, this isn't the first time she's prayed for us, but she just said the words. She said, just give it all to God. Just give everything to God. Surrender everything to God. And it's like, I've been told to surrender it all, but it's like in that moment, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And for some reason, it just clicked with me right there. And from that moment forward, I tried to surrender everything to God. It's like, because even though through each test, you're like, you're expecting it to be negative or whatever, it's just like, I'm not even going to think about it. Like, this is in God's hands. And like, that is when I really started to see, especially looking back, but you start to see things happen and things align. And, then we moved back home to Manchester, close to Tullahoma. And then we're around family now and we have a kid. Like, we weren't expecting to get pregnant when we came home. That's like, now we're around family and we have a kid. Like, that's just the best time,
Right.
But that moment when Kathy said those words at the altar is just, for some reason, it just changed. It clicked for me.
Yeah.
So.
Best way to live too. It's the hardest way to live, a fully surrendered life, but it's the most freedom giving and life giving way to live. So I want to ask you, so we talked about you spent a few years, right, in that waiting season, praying and hoping. What has it been like now to live on this side of that and the answer to those prayers, holding Isaac in your arms, living daily life with him? Like, what's that been like?
It is so good. I wake up every morning and, he's a toddler, so he's throwing fits, and I'm just praying every morning, help me, Lord, to still be grateful even in the hard moments. But but it is such a sweet season, just to see he is a miracle. I mean,
Absolutely.
Just to see him every morning and his smile and his red hair and his blue eyes. It's just such a sweet season, and we thank the Lord every day for him.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't think there's a word that describes it.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that Isaac, it's like he is just such a gift from God. He can just light up any room. It's just, he's just such a good baby. And
Even his serious look. I love the serious look. He's got that stare down.
yeah, he's definitely got some faces on.
I love it.
Man, it's just, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but good. That's quite like it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that you're parents, how has that experience shaped your prayers or your perspective on God's timing for the future?
I find myself praying for the future a lot more than I did. And that sounds crazy because we were praying to get pregnant, but it's like, you look, the moment that I found out she was pregnant, it's like your mind changes and you start kind of planning for your future and what your future looks like. And even like in this moment, like there's things we're working on together, to shape our future. And we pray for, up until that moment where I prayed for Heather that night, we had really never prayed out loud for each other. And it's kind of sad to say, and that's another word of encouragement for couples, just to pray for each other. It really changes things. But Isaac we do it every day with Isaac, and he's become part of our prayers. He folds his little hands up, and so he'll close his eyes and then he'll peek up. But it's just I don't know. It's just like I feel like I hit the lottery every day, and it's the best thing.
Like I said earlier, I feel like now I don't have to worry about the future because I know it's in the Lord's hands.
Yeah.
I mean, I do pray for Isaac's development and that he'll be kind and loving, and but I know that the Lord made him just like he wanted him to be, and I don't have to worry about the timing of anything else because I know without a shadow of a doubt that the Lord is faithful.
So what has surprised you? Is there anything that's really surprised you about this new season of life after all that waiting and it finally happens? What's been surprising?
Surprising. I think the surprising part is that toddlers are harder than newborns.
Also,
you think, like people say, like, oh, the newborn stage is so hard because you're so tired, and but those toddlers are feisty, especially the redheaded ones. Yes,
which is great because they're just little sponges soaking it all in.
Absolutely.
But that means it is non-stop.
Yes.
There is no rest for the weary. When they're babies, you can lay them down. They stay with that. You put on for a little while.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's surprising. It's like how little sleep a human can run on.
Yeah, no tired like a parent tired, right?
but it's all a blessing, though.
For sure.
If you could go back and encourage yourselves in that waiting season, knowing what you know now, what would you say?
I would just tell myself to, like, don't lose sight of Jesus. Like, I mean, hang in there.
Yeah.
So even though I was still going to church and everything and participating in small groups and stuff, it's just, I would say give yourself to it.
Yeah.
Give every bit of yourself to it and just let the Lord work.
For me, I think looking back, it would have been very helpful to me to not only pray, but also to look for the ways in which the Lord was working. I think if I had been looking, I would have realized it. But I guess my heart was just so cold and just been used to getting all the negatives and that I wasn't really looking for the Lord to work. But if I had been looking for those little glimpses of Jesus, then that would have it would have helped me tremendously.
Yeah, and I think that is a good reminder for all of us on a daily basis. That's the good spiritual discipline is everyday look and just start looking for where he's working, especially in a season where you feel like you're in a wilderness season or a waiting season. It's so hard to find. It's so hard to keep hanging on to like, oh yeah, he is working. There's something good. But I do think the enemy preys on that, right?
Yes.
Like the enemy tries to magnify all the things in our life that aren't right. When if we really would just start practicing like the spiritual discipline of gratitude, right? And just starting to find even the smallest little things to be thankful for. That's a good reminder, Heather, to just shift our perspective and start looking because God is working. Even like we sing, even when we can't see it, he's working, right? When we don't feel that he's working, but sometimes we have to be intentional about starting to look for those places.
Another thing to add on to that, and this is something that has happened just actually recently, was talking to a friend that has just recently like kind of rededicated his life to Christ and is walking in faith again after kind of a season of wilderness. He was like, and I've been thinking about this ever since he told me. He said he was praying one night and he felt like the Lord was saying, like, almost like you only come to me when you need something, or like, what, like, you don't know me, but and you're not trying to know me, so it's like I've been I've been reading my Bible every day, praying every day. It's like I want my heart to break for what breaks God's heart. I want to know him. I don't want to be like a kid going to his parent like, I need some money,
like Santa Claus of the night went on the road or whatever.
It's not like in like looking back in our story, that's one of the things I feel guilty about. It's just like how I was wanting that miracle to happen. But, and I guess I could kind of go with like what I would tell myself then is like, get to know God and get in his word and pray and just read his word, because he wants a relationship with us. And so that's something that I've been working towards every day, and it has made a world of difference. It changes how I look at everything, and just how it gives me. I do it the first thing in the morning, and it sets the tone for the day.
Yeah, and he wants to be known, right?
Yeah,
he does. So if those listening today could only, if there was only one big truth, one big thing that they walk away with, their takeaway from today, from your story, what would you hope they'd remember from this episode of 1211 Podcast?
I think for me, it's how much we have to lean on our community, and how important it is that we surround ourselves with people who call on the name of Jesus, and who will carry our mats when we can't carry our mats ourselves. I know we've done that more and more recently, and it's just so uplifting, and surrounding ourselves with the community of people who are pushing towards the same love of Jesus that we want every day. And not that we're pushing the other people aside, but we want to surround ourselves with people who are thinking like us and moving in the same direction we are. And I think the biggest part for me is the community.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just that there's nothing too big for our God.
Yeah.
He's working miracles every day.
Yeah.
He's walking with us every day. We just got to look for him.
Yeah. Good.
Wow. Heather and Dalton, thank you both so much for sharing your journey with us. It's such a powerful reminder that God really is working, even in the waiting, even when we can't see it, and even when we don't understand it.
Yeah. And if you're listening today and you find yourself in a waiting season, maybe you're feeling tired or even questioning God's plan, take heart, because you are not alone. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with people who will carry your mat when you can't, and trust, even when it's hard, that His timing is always perfect, and that you are never alone, even in the darkest, hardest wilderness seasons.
We hope today's conversation encouraged you. If it did, we'd love for you to share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. We'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a comment to let us know what spoke to you today. Your feedback is important to us, and we are so very grateful that you're part of the 1211 community.
Friends, keep clinging to God, and remember that His faithfulness doesn't run out. Just hold on.
We hope you'll join us for our next episode, when we'll sit down with our dear friend Rachel to hear her powerful story of redemption and restoration. From childhood wounds to hard pivot moments in adulthood, Rachel's journey has been anything but easy. But through it all, God's faithfulness has been undeniable. If you've ever felt stuck or wondered if healing was possible, Rachel's testimony will remind you that God, He's not finished with your story. Don't miss this raw, real, and hope-filled conversation coming next on the 1211 Podcast.
Absolutely. And if you're listening and you're in a hard waiting season, we want you to know that today we are praying for you.
Thanks for listening to 1211 Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Blessings, friends.